morning, everyone. Welcome to Reflections again. And it's going to be an exciting time in the kitchen today. I want to, in the last few weeks, I've showed you how to prepare some quick meals. And today is not an exception. So today I want to show you how to prepare, we call it, the Yorubas call it Obilana. It's actually an okra and spinach soup. Well, it's an okra soup with mixed with some vegetable. I like it with spinach because spinach is nice and soft. Back in with the Yorubas, sometimes you use buri, which is another form of spinach, or we use what we call bitter leaf. I love it with spinach and some bitter leaf. Now, today I want to do seafood asipo, or seafood okra and spinach. Now, because I know that some of you are allergic to seafood, you don't take shrimps, you don't take fish, I'm going to do two. It's still the same basic ingredients. It's only that the meat you now put in is a little different. With the seafood, you put in your spinach, your fish, your shrimp, and all that good stuff. And if you just want to do the ordinary one, you can put in meat, chicken, turkey, whatever. You can put in a mixture of meats, an assortment of meats. Some people will put in stripe, kidney, all kinds of cow leg and stuff like that. But today I'm just going to make it plain and simple. First and foremost, because I'm also thinking of our little children at home. I know that every time I prepare this food, because I love a lot of the seafood, and some of them are the bony kind, I might put in, what do you call it? I might put in fish. Fish, sometimes if you don't use the fillet, has bones. And then I like putting in the stockfish. I like putting in what do you call it? I like putting in just a mixture, dried shrimp and all that stuff. And I remember my children, when they were home, now they are grown and gone, would say to me that we don't want all that stuff. So I usually ended up doing about 2-3 different varieties of the asipo. I'll make one for them with just the plain meat or fish, and then I'll make one for me with all my stuff that I like to put in. So this morning, I'm going to start. Now you can use frozen okra and frozen spinach. So I got some frozen okra, and that's the bag. And when you have frozen okra, you can just put it into the blender and chop it. It must not be too finely chopped. Just chop it up in your blender. And then you can also get your spinach. Make sure you get the chopped spinach, because I like my spinach nice and small. So you get the chopped spinach. Okay. So now we are going to start, and I've got all my ingredients here. And the basic thing you need really, it's a very simple meal, a very simple soup I want to teach you today. I like greens. I like vegetables. So whenever I'm cooking and I'm using vegetables, I like my vegetables nice and green. I don't like overcooking my vegetables. I don't like it at all. So the minute your vegetable turns from being bright green, I don't like it, because I feel that you have cooked out all the nutrients in it. So I really don't cook my vegetable for too long. So it's the last thing I'm going to put in. Now, a lot of people use what they call Maggi, or I like my food natural and simple. So what I usually do is, if I boil my meat or my chicken, I save the stock. I skim off the fat from the stock. So here we go. And really, you really don't need a lot of oil for this. I'm going to use palm oil, because that's the way I was brought up. Now, some people say palm oil is not too healthy. Well, I don't use a lot. So here we go. Just a little, like a spoonful, a tablespoonful. I put some water in my pot already. And like I said, I'm going to make two different two different stews. It's exactly the same ingredients. It's only that in one I'm going to do seafood, and in the other one I'm going to do the regular. Okay, I'm going to do meat and chicken. All right then. So just a little palm oil, very little. I have some chicken stock. You could also use your beef stock. I got it from, boiling my chicken earlier on today. So just to give it some taste, some nice taste, you put. Now the amount of water you use depends on how much vegetable and okra you are using. So there we go. I'm going to just pour in everything that I get. While that heats up, remember to put in a little salt. And I've told us, don't hold your, it's okay, just take it. Okay. Don't always use a spoon unless you've had years of experience like me. Maybe you've had over 50 years of experience, or, so don't just pour in your salt, especially if you are just learning. Put it in a spoon and measure it in. And you have to taste for salt, because some people eat a lot of salt, some people don't. So, but you can always add more salt along the way as you go. Now we have what we call crayfish. I love to use crayfish. This is brown dried shrimp, but in Nigeria we call it crayfish. So I'm going to, I like lots of that. So you don't have to put it in if you're allergic to seafood. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in my sieve, the one I'm going to use for seafood, and I'm not going to put any in the one I'm going to use for my beef and chicken. So there we go. Now, so you wait for that to sort of boil all together. And this is going to be really simple today. I told you before I love spicy stuff. So I've got some habanero that I already blended. I'm going to put that. If you don't like spicy stuff, and especially if you are making it for the children, you might decide not to put anything in it. Okay, you might decide not to put spicy pepper, or you might decide to put in very little. As I said, I like spicy. So here we go. We are going to let all that boil together a little. And while that is boiling, I'll just show you, some of the stuff I have here. So here is the okra. This is fresh okra. And this is the frozen spinach, the chopped leaf spinach. Now, I've got meat here. I don't like cutting my meat. I don't like big pieces of meat. I like my meat in small pieces, simply because it's faster to cook, the seasoning really gets in, and then there's no wastage. Sometimes you give people big pieces of meat and they end up wasting it. But with this, you can eat as many as you want, and it's not too big, so it's easy for you to throw in your mouth, and it just makes life a little easier. Now this is chicken. Now you can get chicken wings, you can get chicken thigh, you can get but I just decided to use chicken breast and cut it in small pieces. Again, I'm thinking of little children, because it's going to be easy for them to just pick out. Ooh, that spice is beginning to get to me. Now, so I have some chicken there. If you like, you can use turkey. You can use any kind of meat that you want. So this is going to be for the meat, the meat okra asipo. The other one that I said is what do you call it? Seafood. I'm only going to put seafood in. That is already getting nice and bubbly. So I'm going to set this aside next to the one I want to use for. That's my meat and my chicken. Now the seafood is the one I really, really love. I really get to put all kinds of stuff in this. So here we go. I have some, this is the interesting one. I have some smoked fish. I got this from the African store. However, you can find smoked fish in any of the stores, any of the grocery stores. And so, here we go. I'm going to drop some smoked fish in there so that it cooks. Okay, so we've got some smoked fish in there. I also have some stock fish. Stock fish actually is from Norway. It's their specialty there, but I know that we have taken it, Africans, especially Nigerians, have taken it to another level. And like I said, I don't like big chunks of meat or whatever in my soup. So I'm just going to break it up, just little chunks. I already, and with you have to treat stock fish specially because it takes a long time to soften up. So I first of all soaked it for a while, for about a day. And when I wanted to use it this morning, I found out that it still wasn't soft enough. So I put it in the pressure cooker for about 10-15 minutes. Oh, that pepper is really getting, the spicy stuff is getting to me. Okay. That's tasting really good. Now I have my, that's for my seafood. Okay. And that's doing well. The thing with asipo is that if you have prepped before, it takes, you know, you can have the meal ready in 10-15 minutes. It's really, it's fast, and it gets you your meal very, very quickly, especially. So usually I have cooked meat in the freezer, whether it's chicken or meat. I usually when I cook them in large quantities. I store them in, you know, soup sizes in the freezer. So anytime I need to make a quick meal, I just bring out a freezer bag with the kind of meat I want. Now this is doing really well. We will soon be ready with that. Now I have fish. Now for the seafood okra, you don't want to use, I don't like using the soft fish like tilapia, you know, stuff like, because it breaks up in the soup, and unless you already know how to handle it, you might end up with a lot of bone, unless you are, and even when you use the fillet, you really don't want your fish all broken up. So until you really get to know how to handle it, I would advise that you use firm flesh fish. You can use salmon. I'm using whiting right now. I know some people don't like whiting at all, but it keeps inside it. I'm putting a little salt. You have to salt your fish before you cook it, otherwise it's going to be tasteless. Don't put too much salt, please. So I'm going to throw that in. So I already have smoked fish. I have stock fish. I'm going to put in some fresh fish now. That's for your seafood, okra, and spinach. That's doing well. Now, I've never really cooked scallops, so I don't know. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I know that scallops are very tender. So I'm going to put them in much later. You can see that it's doing really good. Okay, and that's doing well too. So this is going to be my meat, my non-seafood asepo. Asepo, A-S-E-P-O, asepo, ila asepo. Ila stands for okra. So for that, I'm going to use, I'm going to put in my meat. And because meat is a little tougher than chicken, I'm going to just leave that for a while, unless you are using the hard chicken. I'm going to let that, I'm going to let the meat soak in the juice from the stew that we are cooking. Now this is doing well, and in another few minutes our seafood okra is going to be ready. I think I might have to change this pot. I think I'm using a pot that is too small for what I'm doing. So this, our non-seafood asepo is doing very well, and you will see that it doesn't have a lot of oil. Like I said, by the time I'm done, I want it nice and green, really nice and green. I don't like it, red. So here we go. Now I'm going to. So while that is cooking, I think this might be ready for. This is the one with meat. And like I said, you can throw in things like you can throw in things like turkey, tribe, gizzard, anything interesting you want. The more the merrier.
Someone wants to know, can you use any seafood or should you only use fish?
You can use any seafood you like, and you can use crabs. I don't know how to handle crabs. The small crabs, you can use that. I don't know how to cleanse crabs. I don't know how to cook crabs, but I know I've eaten some seafood okra that has crabs, and it's really delicious. I mean, this is really, really simple. I'm putting in my chicken now because chicken is a little more tender and like I said, the chicken and beef, I use that because for little children, you can see it's easy for them to just pick out. And I didn't put any, I think I put a little spicy pepper in here. But if it's for your children, some of them don't like it at all. You don't need to put any kind of spicy pepper. And this is what I do for my grandchildren because I just cut it in little pieces for them. Okay. Okay, so I got a bigger pot. You can look at it now. I got a bigger pot for my seafood. Now I'm going to put in my scallops. And I'm not, like I said, this is my first time using scallops. I don't know how long I'm supposed to cook it for, but it's all right. I'm not going to cook it for too long because this is nearly ready. I also have shrimps here that are already, cleaned out. So shrimps, you can't cook them for too long either. They get really tough. So I'm just going to leave that for another 1 minute. Where's the color? So you can see this is bubbling really nice. It's looking good. This is going to be ready for the final stage, which it will be the vegetable and the okra ingredients. We are doing good. I think I'm going to put a little more water in there. And so when the good thing about this is that once you get the basics, you can actually do a lot. So for this is a very simple meal, nice and healthy. Use fresh ingredients. You get your meat, you get your chicken, whatever you want to do. But the basic thing about it is some water, some chicken stock or meat stock, and a little oil. If you don't want to use palm oil, you can use some vegetable oil or olive oil, just like 2 tablespoonfuls. Put it in there, because all you are really trying to get is the green. You are trying to get your okra and your vegetable. And if you are a vegetarian, you can, instead of putting fish or instead of putting meat, you can use mushrooms, any kind of mushrooms, any size of mushrooms, so you get that meaty. That meaty. You can just use mushrooms instead of meat or instead of fish. Now my seafood is nearly ready. So I'm going to leave that for another minute or so. I think this the children's asepo is nearly ready. So now I'm going to put in, first I'm going to put in the okra. This is my chopped up okra. So I'm going to put that in. You don't want your okra too fine and you don't want it too small. So when you chop it up in your blender, don't let it. So here we go. You put the okra first because spinach is really very tender. So because I don't like my vegetable turning color, I always put in my spinach last. So there we go. Now I'm going to toast it for that's good. The salt is good. It's just perfect. All right, so that's for the children. Now for us grown adults who can handle the bones in the fish or the stockfish and all the stuff, my children in those days would tell me, Mom, we don't want all that stuff in our home. So I learned to do theirs separate. So here we go. This is nearly ready. I'm going to add my shrimps now. Leave that for about a minute or two. We're nearly done. We are nearly done. So the basic thing is your water, your stock, your little oil. Once that is done, you heat all that up. Whatever you want to do, whether you want to use seafood, you put your seafood in. If it's meat and beef, you are meat and chicken, you put your meat and chicken in. And if you want to do just plain vegetables, maybe you just want to do mushrooms, you put that in, and you are good. And you know, it's. So I'm teaching you some basic things that you really don't need a lot of ingredients for in your kitchen. And notice, I haven't used any. I don't put Maggi. I don't use Maggi. Don't put in curry, don't put in thyme because it changes the taste of that. Don't put in those kind of spices. I don't use anything. I just try to use the fresh ingredients. Okay. I think that needs another minute. Now you can move closer. Like I said, you don't want to overcook your vegetables. So I also don't want my okra to stay in there for too long before I add the spinach. So for some of us who are just learning how to cook, if you get some of the basic principles, you will be able to, you'll be able to do a lot. Last week I taught you how to do atadide, and with that basic those basic ingredients, you can do so many other things. You can add meat, you can add fish, there's so much that you can do with just knowing how to do that. And now with this, you can do different kinds of ilase or spinach and okra. Well, like I said, you can also use some other kind of vegetable. I like spinach because spinach is softer. Okay, so my seafood, I'm getting to the final stage. Everything is in, my fish, my scallops, my shrimp, my what else did I put in there?
Stockfish. My
stockfish, everything, my dried fish, everything is in there. Now I'm going to put my okra. Now this okra is fresh okra, and this is how I really like. When I make this, I use fresh okra, and I don't put it in the blender. I don't use the grater. I do it the old-fashioned way because that's just how I am. I know my young ladies at home are always laughing at me. Mommy, why are you doing that? I'm like, this is how I like it. And you see how you can see the texture. It's different from the one that is frozen. You can see that it's different, and and we had to chop up in the blender. So usually I go for fresh. I show you how I cut it, but please don't try this because I've been cutting this for years. So don't try it if you are not like me, because I don't want anybody having an accident and cutting up themselves. So this is what I do when I want to do it. And like I said, I've been doing this for years, so I know how to take care of business. So please don't do it. Just use your blender or use your grater. Okay, so that's just to show you how to. My okra is doing well. Now this is ready for the final stage. So now I'm going to put in my spinach. I think I might have too much spinach. And this, it really doesn't matter. If you love a lot of spinach, put it in. It doesn't matter. Look how nice and green that looks. I just like the green. I love green vegetables. And I'm not going to overcook it either. There you go.
Someone wants to know, how long should you cook the seafood before adding okra? And how long do you let it cook altogether?
Well, for the seafood, usually you can have it done in 15 to 20 minutes. In 15 to 20 minutes it should be done. Depending on the fish you use, fish cooks very, very quickly. So you can see that. So here's the seafood, and I'm ready for the final stage, which is my spinach. Again, if you see, I used fresh spinach. I cut it up nice and small. I don't like it big in my soup, so I made it nice and small. So there we go. And we are done. We are done. Another 2-3 minutes, we are ready. And you can see the difference in the texture. Here is the one. This is the seafood, and everything using fresh okra, fresh spinach, cut up. You can see, last week, I told you I like my stuff chunky. You can see it all looks chunky. We are going to leave it like that. I'm not going to cover it anymore because I don't want my spinach to overcook. And here we are with the ones for the children, and for, you can see it's still looking green. You just need it to cook a little more. And we are done. And you can serve this with any kind of fufu, whether it's corn or yam or any kind of fufu. And you can, if you like, you can serve it with rice. You can eat it with anything you like. But I like it with, I love it with fufu. Whether it's yam fufu or what do you call it? Or cassava, or any kind of fufu. So there we go. I'm going to serve it in a plate, and it depends on what you like. This one is a little too thick for my liking, so I'm going to put in, I didn't even taste it for salt. Good. I'm going to put a little water in there because it's a little too thick for my liking. Oh my goodness. The seafood is looking really, really nice. Looking really good. I'll tell you a little story. I think it was about 2 years ago. We had a house full of guests, and it was towards evening, and we had a knock at the door, and when we opened, it was some guys making some delivery. So when they turned back and they were leaving, they said, that must be a Nigerian home. We can smell the soup. So they asked my husband, because he had gone out to get the delivery, and said, are you Nigerian? He said, yes. Oh, they said we can smell the soup. So they were leaving. So my husband came in and was laughing and told me, I said, get them, get them, get them. So when they came, I said, do you want to eat? Would you like? They were like, yes. There were 2 of them. I said, okay, because I had just started cooking. I said, you just wait, in 15 minutes your food will be ready. In 15 minutes the food was ready. I packed it for them. I made some fufu for them. They were so happy. They stood in my kitchen. There was no story they didn't tell me. It was as if they had just won the lottery. It was really nice. We all had a good laugh after they had left. But it made my day that I could bless them. I could see that they were already feeling homesick, so it probably reminded them of mommy's cooking. We are good. Seafood is ready, and the meat and chicken is ready. I'm going to serve it so that you can see the difference in the texture. Now remember, I said to you that I chopped up manually one, and then the other one, and that one is fresh and manually chopped up, and the other I used the blender. The Lord tells us that He will bless our water and He will bless our bread, and He will take sickness away from us. So when we cook, let's believe that for our families, that the Lord will bless our water, He will bless our bread, and He will take sickness away from the midst of us. And especially now with all the virus around, that is a promise that we want to hold on to. You will notice that I'm removing it from the stove, and I'm not covering it up, because if you I turn off the light, and if you don't, because your stove still remains hot, so you take it off because you don't want it to continue cooking. Like I said, I like my vegetables green. The minute they turn brown, I don't like it. So here we go. Doesn't that seafood, doesn't that look delicious? Look at that. Look. I love seafood. Asipo. Now I think I didn't put enough meat in this, but here we go. It's nice for the children and nice for people who really don't want too much stuff. You can see the chicken and you can see the beef, and you can see how nice and green it looks. That's how vegetables need. So I hope you've enjoyed today's basic lesson. And one last thing, if you don't want to use vegetables, you might want to use ogbono. Once you have those basic ingredients, you just put your ogbono in. That is a lesson for another day. But here we are, the seafood. I know everybody in my house is going to be down in a minute. Don't worry that it's 9:30. They are going to want to eat fufu and asepo. It's been a wonderful time with you this morning. Remember, God will bless our water. He will bless our bread. And I told you, anytime I feel aches or pain or feel sick, when I remember that scripture, and He says, I will take sickness away from you. He says, I will take it. So what I do, if it's headache, He takes it away from me. If it aches in my arm or anywhere, He takes it away from me. Anywhere I'm feeling ill, He takes sickness away from me. He takes sickness from the crown of my head to the sole of my feet. He takes sickness away from me. I pray for all of us today that the Lord will keep us and the Lord will preserve us. And He will take sickness out of your body in the name of Jesus. It's been a great time with you this morning. Send me pictures of your asepo, whether you decided to do vegetarian, seafood, on it. I would love to see your pictures. Again, God bless you real good. It's Funmi Obilana on Reflections. See you on Monday morning at 9 o'clock. And if you don't have a home church, you can join us on the stream for Living Spring tomorrow at 9:45 US Eastern Time. God bless you and have a wonderful weekend.